Hey class, this is our next small assignment. This is what we're gonna do. It's called the shoe square, although that's a rectangle. This is just a picture I've got of some shoes because we're gonna be doing something like this soon. And I just chose a little rectangle part. You can see the line there. What we're gonna do is cut out that rectangle, replace it with drawing paper, and I want you to duplicate what you see right here. And I want it to be exact. I want it where it's really dark, I want it dark. Where it's white, I want it's white. Where there's texture, I want to see texture. Because this little area, even though it's small, it kind of encompasses a lot of different techniques and textures, and I want you to be able to do that. So first things first, you're going to cut out that square. And you could probably just, you could take an X-Acto knife, or you could just poke something through. I'll just take a knife, scissors here. I'm just going to poke a little hole through the paper there. And I'm going to cut this out. It doesn't have to be super perfect, but try to cut it out right there on that line. Got that? So I'm going to be cutting this out. Shouldn't take you too long. Okay, next. So I cut it out, and I've got the square that I'm going to duplicate. And what I did is I taped a little piece of drawing paper over the back. Rather than, you could tape it in your sketchbook if you wanted to, but that's going to cover your whole sheet. So I don't want to waste paper. So I'm just going to give you a little square like this. And you could just tape that in back. If you're at home, you could just cut a little square out of your sketchbook down in the corner here and then tape that in back. And then just put this in your sketchbook. Okay, so I'm ready to go. So what I'm going to use my regular number 2 pencil to sort of locate things. Okay, you might call this cheating. I don't call it cheating. I'm just calling it for the assignment we're doing. So this little ringlet, where's that ringlet go? So I'm going to do is I'm going to hover my pencil over the top of that and then slip this out of here and then just do a little drawing about where that ringlet is. Okay, so if you zoom in here, you're going to see that I've got just drew that little area there. So I'm going to lay this back over. And now you could see like here is where this part here changes from white light to dark. And it goes all the way up to this corner. So that's pretty easy. I can just try to draw a line sort of right in that area. Okay. And now this little loop here. I might say, here's the bottom of my loop right there. Here's the side of my loop right here. So I'm just kind of draw that little loop. Now, if you're off a little bit, not a huge deal. Okay. Where does the loop end up? It ends up about right here. So here's that little loop of shoelace that's coming around. And here it sort of goes up like this and loops across here and then comes up this way. That gets a little narrower and it tucks in about there. This loop is coming underneath here, kind of in that area, okay? So what else? Here's these other little ringlets where the laces are coming out. There's one about here and there's a lace coming out this way. So once again, I can put this over to just kind of locate things. I want to go to about this spot right here. And that lace is coming up and then it's sort of twisting over like this. Okay, and then there's another lace. Here's the little ringlet right here. That's about in this area. And that lace is coming out and it's going off the page about right here. Okay, so I'm just locating things. The stitches, not super important, but I could just sort of say the stitches are kind of coming up in this area. Now I'm drawing with my number 2 pencil, drawing super light, because I don't want to put big dark lines there, because once again, just like with the geometric shapes that we drew, it's not about drawing big lines, it's about drawing values, okay? And really that's what I want you to do is capture the values that are on here. Okay, so that's pretty good. So I got basically the things located that I need located, and I drew them with my number 2 pencil. Okay, so next I'm going to take my ebony pencil and start putting the values in here. Okay, so I'm just going to go show you one little area, and then you can just kind of watch me do the other things kind of quickly. But this is how you're going to do it. Now in this area, see this little ringlet? The ringlet's really light. Now it's really light in some spots. In other spots it's kind of gray, but for the most part it's surrounded by a dark area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in that center right now with a darker value. So I'm putting a gray in there, dark gray, like a number 10 almost. And then I'm going to go around the outside of it. Okay, and that's going to be a pretty dark value as well. You can see this whole area up here is very dark. So if you're talking value with a number, it's probably like a 10. Okay, so I'm going to fill that in. And once again, if I want to eliminate lines or textures, go over it more than one direction, and that'll eliminate any kind of like strokes that would be showing normally from the pencil. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and I'll keep going. Now this area here, this ringlet is metal, and it looks really shiny. The reason it looks so shiny is because it's so white next to something that's so dark. Now here it's kind of a gray though. So here it's going to be a little bit gray, but really if I take a sharp pencil and make it abruptly dark next to that ringlet, that's going to look shiny. So once again, I'm going to do this, and I make it abruptly dark right on the outside of this, really dark. Now that ringlet's really popping out at you like this one is, but this ringlet's a little bit gray on the sides. It's not quite white everywhere, but it's white there around that top edge and so on. So now my ringlet looks a little bit more metallic and shiny because that shiny area really pops against the very dark area. So I'm going to continue to work on this, and then you can see the final results. Okay? Okay, so I've been drawing for a bit, and you kind of see how I left some areas light, like the laces here, and I went around them. Now, keep in mind, this photo is pretty good. You can see a lot of detail in this, and you can also, things really jump out, but I really want to make this lace look like it's coming over the top. So what I'm going to do is this little crack that's back in here, I'm going to really make that pretty dark, because the laces will really pop out against that dark background. Now notice up here, this is really dark. You can see it up here, really dark, so I could even go over it maybe a little bit more to darken it up to fill in some of those white spaces, okay? This is a medium to dark. It's pretty dark here. So I went light at first because I can always go back over the top, okay? And now what I'm gonna do is I'm specifically gonna leave contrast along some of the edges. Like I want this part of the rubber to stand out from the canvas back here. So I'm gonna leave just a little bit of a white edge up here so that stands out a little bit more, okay? Now you notice there's like a line running through here like this. Okay, so I'm gonna put that line over the top of the value I already have. So it's really important that you have a sharp pencil. My line is coming right over here. Okay, and it's pretty dark. I want this lace to pop out, but notice the lace gets dark right in there. So I'm going to make it dark next to the other lace right here. And then it sort of fades, so you got a gradual value change. And then I want to make that loop jump out just a little bit more. So I'm going to specifically make it a little bit darker inside the loop, so my white loop jumps out just a little bit more. Okay, so I'm always using contrast. Now here this comes over, and the bottom side of this lace is a little bit darker. And this ringlet really pops out right again. So what I'm going to purposely make it a little darker near the ringlet, and so that that shininess kind of pops out at you just a little bit there. Now this part of the ringlet sort of disappears. This little ringlet here is light too, and I'm gonna go light right in, little dark line in here, make that a little darker, and that way that lace pops out. Now, I'm getting pretty close to near completion here, but what I wanna do is make sure the values are the same. Notice it's pretty dark in here. This isn't quite as dark, so I'm gonna come in here and just make this a little darker, and it's a gradual, it's sort of a dent in the shoe, so it's kind of a little dip. So it's got a little darker here and a little darker there. And it looks like down here, this lace is casting kind of a shadow in the shoe here. So I'm gonna go just a little bit darker right in here. Okay. And then that lace kind of disappears behind this little edge right here. And so right now my lace is popping out pretty well. So I've got this exact duplicate here. That's pretty white. Now, if you look close, there's a texture on here. There's a little zigzag texture. And really what it is, some of those zigzags are kind of white. So if I was using paint, I'd take a little white brush, but I can't do that with a pencil. So what I'm going to do is make a decision here that to get that, first I'm going to really sharpen my pencil really sharp right now because I need a really nice tip. And I'll blow that off. Oop, blew my paper away. And now I'm going to take my pointed pencil. You can see it's a lot pointier than it was before. And I'm going to kind of put that little zigzag, little texture in here, just a little bit of a zigzag. I'm just kind of copying it, not exactly, but that just gives that little bit of texture in there. You see that up close? Okay? And I don't have to draw it all the way. In some cases, the texture sort of fades away, but I'll just indicate some of that. It's kind of like I'll say, if you're drawing like a brick building, you wouldn't draw every brick, but you draw some of the bricks. So you kind of let the viewer know, hey, there's a little texture, there's bricks on this building and so on. So a little bit of a texture here, just a little bit, and it kind of trails off into the white, but I'm just indicating there's a little bit of texture on that lace. And the last thing is I just want to tighten it up. By tightening it up, I want to make my edges a little sharper. So I got a really sharp pencil. I can maybe sharpen a little more. And then up here, I'm just going to come in and make a really nice sharp edge right up in there. And I want to make it obvious that this lace is over the top. So I might purposely darken this lace a little bit right there. And I'm going beyond what this is showing. Because I want the viewer to really know that this lace is in front of the other lace. So I'm going to even darken this one a little bit. So I can definitely tell that's in front. And then I might say I'm going to darken this right here so I can tell that that lace is in front of the shoe itself. Okay, so now it looks like one is running underneath the other one. And over here, I think I'll do the same thing. The edge of this is lighter. I'm going to purposely make the lace a little darker right here. Okay, and last, I've got some stitches that are running in here. Now, if I was painting, I'd use a white paintbrush to do that, or something really light gray or something. I can't do that with the pencil. So I'm just going to take the initiative and kind of just put some stitches in here with a little black line. The stitches, are they super important to the project? Probably not, but I just want to indicate if this was a shoe, this is a Converse, it's a canvas type shoe, and I want to be able to see that there. Okay? So really that's what we're doing. We're duplicating this exact thing right here, everything the same. Okay? This to me still looks flat. It's flat white. And it looks pretty flat on there too. So I'm going to go beyond what I'm seeing. I'm going to make this little hole just a little deeper there. And I'm going to lighten this, just give it a little bit of a gray here, and it'll fade to light. So it starts a little gray and it kind of fades to white. That way it doesn't look quite so flat. Okay? So that's it. We're duplicating your shoe, that little square. And when you're done with that, I want you to photograph it and put it into Google Slides. But this will be your assignment. It's going to say it's going to be worth 25 points, okay? And really, I chose this because it really, if you can master this little square, you could do much, like for example, I could do this whole picture here, okay? But obviously it would take me longer. But if I have the ability to do this, easily I could do the whole picture.